I'm a UIC student, major anthropology and minor Latin American Latino studies. My identities are being trans, genderqueer, Latino, queer as my pansexual as my sexuality, and not either male or female. Those are my primary identities. I don't think that they formed all at the same time. It's definitely been different times in my life. I first identified as lesbian when I came out at 17, and then a few years later I started identifying as trans because I really didn't fit within the lesbian community, and I didn't even feel as if I was a lesbian, as in female. With race, I think once I moved away from the small town where I lived at, I started realizing how race is relevant in every day. So when I moved to Chicago and how segregated it is, I definitely felt more or less. I definitely think it's been over a period of time. When I was 5, my father drew this mural for my school, and when the newspaper interviewed him, underneath the picture it said him and then his son, and that was me, and my family really took offense to that. Like, they made the newspaper like write a correction and this and that, and I mean, me at the age of 5 or 6, I knew that it wasn't wrong. So I really didn't know why they were getting all bothered by it. And then there's just stories of like my dad saying that one day he looked out the window and he saw these 2 boys fighting, and then he realized, oh, it's me. So I mean, there's just like those little things throughout life where they possibly could have noticed, and then I definitely noticed that, you know, being in a female body wasn't correct. I feel as if genderqueer is definitely a political stance. There's not a certain definition of what it is. So what I think it is for myself is me taking a political stance against the constructed gender system that we've formed. So I don't believe that there's just a male or female identity. There's multiple identities of gender. There's a third gender. There's someone who doesn't identify as a gender, and then there's also people who move between the lines. So there's a huge spectrum of what gender is. I definitely think it is misunderstood. There's no one set definition, and I feel like that's why people don't understand what it is. There's our gender binary, it's so rigid that people growing up, that's what they learn. So there's no space for anything in between or outside of those boxes. And just everything in our society is gendered, from the aisles at the toy store to our restrooms. So there's just a lot that people don't understand. One, they don't see how gendered our society is, and then 2, they can't understand people who don't fit into those 2 boxes. Being identified as male because my body type isn't the built tall. I'm only 5'2", so walking alone in different communities at like 2 a.m., you know, I felt kind of afraid sometimes if people thought that I was a male. I definitely think I feel more comfortable within a Latino community than I do a lesbian and gay community, especially since even lesbian and in gay communities, they don't understand what being genderqueer or trans is. And I feel like if I can somewhat pass for either male or female in a Latino community, I won't get hassled. I've had a huge challenge when I tell people that I don't use any pronouns. They don't understand it, and two, people just want to gender things, so they'll either use male pronouns or female pronouns. So I just go by my name, Madi. So that's been a huge challenge for people, and then myself, as in, like, people don't understand like the psychological damage that can happen when people use the wrong pronoun. As successes, I believe that I've definitely become more confident in everything that I do. Well, with the pronoun, I hear them say it, and I, like, for a second, I'll think that they're not talking to me, or it's like my life stops for like a second when they say that, because I know it's wrong, and repeating it to people constantly, it can be a struggle. But I do have friends, allies surrounding me that, if someone does use the wrong pronoun, they'll correct them, so I don't have to. So that's definitely a plus, to be able to surround yourself with people who understand you and your identity. I think also, like, going to the restroom, that's definitely something that is a challenge, especially when there are no gender neutral restrooms. So when someone is either policing the bathrooms or even just looking at you a certain way, thinking that you're going into the wrong bathroom when you're not. So those are definitely issues. I think with my job, especially in the future once I finish my education, I think that's going to be, I'll definitely have struggles within that. Since I want to work with children, become a teacher or a guidance counselor, I don't think people other teachers will understand it. And the fact that sometimes you can't talk to your students about certain things, especially LGBT topics, that's going to be hard. I think that definitely, like, I won't be able to get the job that I want with working, within a public school system, but it might lead me to just being radical and, putting together like a co-op and making my own school. So, I mean, it definitely has its pros and cons.
Nice.
Listening to people's personal stories has a lot to do with it, not putting your own judgment of what gender is, and also being a proactive ally and educating yourself on what genderqueer is. Also, when someone goes into the restroom and you can't tell what their gender is, don't assume they're going into the wrong restroom. So no policing bathrooms, because everyone's in there just to do the same thing. I definitely think I would create more gender neutral bathrooms, so people have access to them, instead of just like on our campus we have to go from one building, then there's 5 more buildings in between that, or from one end of the campus to the next, for someone who is more comfortable using a gender neutral bathroom to use. I also think using gender pronouns has hurt our society. So if we found a way not to use pronouns, I know there's a school in Denmark who, starting from pre-K, they do that. Like, there are no gender pronouns, and that's a way for the kids to know that male or females can have the same job, or don't assume that when you say policeman that it is a man. So I think those are definitely tangible things that we can use in our society. once I understood what my gender identity is, then that has really helped me just throughout life. Once you feel confident, I mean, everything in your life, it shines through.